Yo, welcome everyone to the Bleezy Show. Your boy Bleezy back here again. We just had a fantastic stream, a fantastic day. We've been absolutely killing it here on Project Ascension. I'm going to remake this Bloodmage Eternal Tanking Guide. You know why? Because I just got through ZG today and I noticed a lot of things I could have improved. Now, most of that in the previous guide is perfectly fine. It still carries over and it's going to carry over again into this guide. However, I changed a few talents. I'm adding a section for enchants and there's a lot more we're going to cover. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit better at describing my rotation. I also figured out why my DPS was a little bit low. If you noticed in that first video, my DPS after hitting these mobs was a little bit low. I'm about to show you 8 to 9k on 6 target packs. This little, pack of training dummies here in Stormwind. So now listen, it'll be 8 to 9k. I showed you 3k and I was like, what the heck is going on? This can't be right. So I'm just remaking it. Let's just redo it. It sat on me. It hurt my heart to show you guys 3k DPS. Something just wasn't clicking right. But it's okay. See, there's this bug. I won't go into it too long. When you switch between specs in this game, it'll like take your main talent and it will take it back to level 1 and oftentimes just take it off your bar, and when you put it back on it's still level 1. And so my rock claw in that video was level 1 and I'm like, okay, that's usually 60 to 70% of my damage. So now listen, we're gonna get right into it. Okay, this is a Bloodmage Eternal Spec tanking guide. This will take you all the way through leveling dungeons into heroics, into mythic dungeons. Now I just started doing normal raids today. I led my first ever raid. Go check it out. It's on my YouTube right now. We're live every single day on Twitch and YouTube for long hours. Okay, I also play VENOMANCER and other things. On top of that, I also am going to post a direct import link for my WeakAuras. Okay, I went ahead and set up Wagyu, all that good stuff. I just haven't done it before. I've been a long time user of WeakAuras, but I've just never gotten into setting up an account, doing all that. I usually just import myself. So I actually will put my packs for not only Bloodmage, but VENOMANCER tanking as well in case you're interested. Now, in the last video, I also left a small section at the end on how to create those WeakAuras. If you're not interested in that, I get it. You don't need to know how to code, okay? It's very easy. WeakAuras is very simple. And for the trinkets, I will say, even in my import link, you're going to have to go in and change the actual item name of your trinket. So you might want to go back and look at that. I'm probably not going to reattach it to this video since most people don't seem to want to learn, but that's fine. But you will need to at least go change the trinket auras for your own trinkets, okay? And that's just shift-clicking your trinket into it. Now, without further ado, let's get right into it. We're going to cover a lot of things, okay? First of all, talents. Let's just start with this, and then I'll go into spells, individual abilities, buffs, consumables, enchants, and more. Okay, we'll go over all of it. This isn't going to be too long, but I'm also going to take my time so that you get this correct. Now, I made a few changes to my spec from the last video. You notice, I just went ahead and dropped these two. 5% damage at night sounds great, but you can actually get some more damage if you sacrifice a couple points along the way. So, it took a little bit of brainstorming, but nothing here is too complicated. Just slow it down, okay? WoW is not rocket science, okay? It is absolutely just a video game, and while, Bloodmage tanking was very hard to kind of get used to, because imagine you're a warlock from original WoW, vanilla WoW, and you're life tapping, something like that. Imagine doing that as a tank, and doing it almost every single move. You either spend your health or your rage, okay? Your health base and rage base for this class and for this spec, and it is very fun, don't get me wrong, but it's a little bit challenging to get used to. I'll say that, but it's very rewarding. I do more damage than most DPS specs, and I have yet to lose to a tank in any kind of instance content. So I'm often first place in DPS overall after a whole dungeon, and I've never been less than second, okay? There's a challenge on my Twitch stream right now. I'm willing to gift a sub the first time I ever lose to all 3 DPS, and it just hasn't ever happened. Okay, and you also heal a lot, okay? You kind of have to. Now let's just start over. I'm not going to go over every single talent, but I'm going to go over the big ones, and I'll explain why. So, Blood Pact. Again, a lot of your moves cost health, and not only do they cost health, your CDs will cost a lot of health. Alright, that's something that you're going to have to get used to, because as a tank, you are constantly taking damage, and your moves are also using health, if you're playing Eternal Spec, and then your CDs also cost health. It's quite a lot, but it's very rewarding if you can kind of figure this out. We're going to figure it out together, okay? Blood Pact. Kind of like evasion from a rogue, if you play rogue before. You just get a big old dodge chance. I think it's 50%, and you have talents to improve this talent, such as increasing your healing by 20%. And there's a talent somewhere that reduces the cooldown over time, or when you use certain things. It's a great, absolutely great Bloody Claws right here. You now generate 20% increased rage from damage dealt. We'll get there. But there's a lot of talents to make this even better. Okay, now Fleshcraft. Another really big defensive cooldown. This one uses rage instead of health, and it can crit. Okay, so baseline is 50% of your health regen immediately, and it's just an insta-cast. Now, it does have a 5-minute cooldown and puts a 3-minute sated on you. So, I'm not really sure why they even do that. It's a 5-minute cooldown. So, now I think there's no way to get this cooldown lowered. So, I'm not sure why they add that sated. Maybe it's because there's other moves that people could use on you, and now they can no longer use them. It's kind of like a paladin, right? Paladin and lay on hands, bubble, that type of thing. But it's a really big cooldown. These two are both really big cooldowns. You're going to have to learn how to juggle cooldowns. So I'm the type of tank that runs straight from boss to boss to boss, and I pull everything in between. Most of the time, we can kill it on the way there, especially if we have really good DPS in my group. If we don't, okay, I just have to make sure I'm staying alive from boss to boss to boss. Because listen, I got an eco. I got something to prove, and you're going to be just like that too. We're going to be the best tanks ever. Bloodmage is the class to do it. You just have to... You got to get used to it. You got to get used to it for real. Now, a lot of these talents are very good. We ended up going down the same path from before, just taking out a couple useless talents. The Sphere sounds great, and it is very good in PvP, but one thing you'll want to notice is it requires Mortal Form. Okay, when you are in your tank form, you get this big old werewolf form here, you actually are in something called Cursed form. You just activate it like a normal form. Down here, Thermal Curse, which you can read this if you want. Just tank stats it gives you and whatnot. But it turns you into Cursed form. Alright, this is something that is, if you can put 2 to 2 together, this is not mortal form. Mortal form is just when you're in a human and not in this form. Just think of like druids, balanced druids, any druids, right, going in from form to form to form. Cat form, bear form, human form. You don't want to be in human form as a tank, I can tell you that. So we're just going to remove this. I had originally taken it just to get down into here a little bit deeper, but I just found better talents, better damage, and more consistent damage as the tank. So... we get some really good talents down here, and I will say I go for Blood Veil. This one is still on my chopping block. I'm not completely against it yet, but there's just nothing quite good enough to replace it with. Blood Veil is really good in the fact that it gets you down to here without having to waste a bunch of points. But it's still a shield. It's still a cooldown. It's not going to be your best defensive cooldown, but it's up every pack. You especially get even more cooldown on it from Bloody Claws, and etc. It's good. I would just put it up when you have a second. You know, it's not worth a GCD unless you really need a defensive, just like any other defensive. But you might see this short cooldown and think, oh, I should use it all the time. It's only 204 health to use. It's 2,000. It says 1,300, but I believe the top rank is closer to 1,900 to 2,000. You're gonna go through 2,000 pretty quickly. So unless you're really needing it, or you just have that extra GCD, maybe you're still walking to a pack and you can put it up before. Now, I always have mobs on me. From start to finish, I'm in combat just pretty much the entire dungeon, so... depending on how you are, how defensive you want to be, that's perfectly fine. Now, we'll go over the major talents I take. Hemostasis. I do this because this class does not have a dedicated kick ability. Now, as terrible as that sounds, it's not that big of a deal. With Hemostasis, it makes it even better. Okay, it's like a stun, and you actually can double-click it. It is a stun. You can double-click it to make so it puts them in a bubble your first click, and then if you double click it, it explodes the bubble. They get a healing debuff. That's more for PvP. Okay, we're just trying to interrupt, maybe stun a boss, stun a mob, etc. But you also need to remember 639 health to cast this. So let's say you're needing to just pop a blood pact and stun someone. Okay, you just used 1,000 health. My tank right now, who just finished raiding ZG today, go check out the video, has almost 8,000 health. So, I mean, that's an eighth of my health just gone. That might not sound like a lot, but that's just a global cooldown. And an eighth of my health is gone as the tank. So, get used to it. You'll have to mess up a couple times, or just heed my warning, okay? Just practice. So, I will say, Shadow Howl, Wicked Howl, a bunch of these howls you're going to want to take, and I'll explain why here in just a minute. But Shadow Howl might not sound amazing at first. It inspires your allies, granting immunity to movement impairing effects for 6 seconds. Now, it's not fears. This is not everything, but it's like stun, or it's like roots, snares, slows, that type of thing. Not fears, not like immobilizations. It makes it sound like it's a trinket, but it's not. Now, you'll want to use this often. I'll explain why later. Even if it's not directly saving, you from getting hit with a snare or a teammate, I'll tell you why in just a minute. We'll get there. Wicked Howl, this is a big defensive cooldown. Okay, so we've talked about Fleshcraft, Blood Pact. Your next one is Wicked Howl. This is just a 2-minute cooldown. It does cost 400 health, but it increases your max health by 30% for 15 seconds. That's quite a big amount, and for quite a long time. So Take this, put it somewhere along with Blood Pact and Fleshcraft that you know you can hit in a bind. You're not going to miss that key bind. It's going to keep you alive many times. Okay, Blood Bond. I go for this capstone talent. This is the class tree for Blood Mage, so any spec can pick between what they want. All 4 specs for this class. The best one for Eternal, the tanking spec, would be Blood Bond. So you bond yourself to an ally. You just put this on someone at the beginning of your dungeon or arena or whatever you're doing, your raid. Put this on someone, either a healer or someone that you know is going to take some damage, such as a melee. If you're in a pre-made, you know someone that constantly runs in, maybe pulls too early, pulls a bunch by accident, right? You know they take some damage. Now, the funny thing is, the more damage this person takes, the better it is for you, because you gain rage, I believe base health also, and you get 10% of their threat redirected to you. Now, you don't want your healer tanking. Okay, you're going to get kicked out. You're going to get kicked out of your raid if you make your healer tank too often. But yeah, I will say, if you can put it on a melee, that might be even best, like a guardian or someone very close range that is constantly getting hit. Otherwise, just put it on someone that gets hit occasionally, or a healer. You know, it's really, there's no huge... Again, the more they get hit, the better. I can't really tell you who to put it on, though. So you'll have to... That's a person and a group-to-group type of thing. Now, let's move over to the spec tree. Let's take just a second, breathe. There's a lot going on in the spec tree. We're going to go over rotation after. I'm going to hit some dummies and show you all of this in action. So Rock Claw is your main ability. Okay, that is your main spec ability. It's got 2 charges, 6-second recharge. So this is important. And it costs health, right? But you gain some rage when you use it. So you ravage all nearby enemies, dealing 115 shadow damage, generating rage, and infecting their wounds, causing a bleed, and it is a huge bleed. Okay, it's almost 2,000. Now all of this can crit and your bleed ticks can crit, so that 1,700 number can be a lot more. You get a bunch of talents to make this a way better spell as well. They can stack now as you level up. You don't have all this available at level 15, at level 1, at level 30. You gotta level up. Okay, you'll get there though. And as soon as it can stack, pick that talent. I don't know where it's at. We'll go over. Make sure you get that talent. Allows Rock Claw's periodic effect to stack 2 additional times. Yeah, 50% longer duration. Trust me, that makes your DPS go from here to out there. Okay, it's wild. But let's slow it down. All of these are very good talents. Okay, I made very little changes on this side, if any at all, because it's just still fantastic. There's not a lot better as far as dungeon tanking. The only optimizations you could really make here are maybe like pure single target, but there's just hardly any fights that are right now pure single target, even in the raids, especially dungeons. You definitely want some of these AoE talents. So here's your big AoE taunt, Blood Howl, and you'll notice it's another howl. Okay, so we now are making quite a few howls. We're picking quite a few howls and we're making them options. We're adding them to our toolbox. All these have their own individual effects, but again, let's get into why they're important. The last howl I'll cover before that, Monstrous Howl. Pick this one, so you can rage for 10 seconds. This causes your next 6 Bloodfang bites. We'll go over each spell individually, but just know Bloodfang bite is your best single target and 2 target beyond Rock Claw. Keep Rock Claw up on single target, 2 target, every target, okay? Put Rock Claw up as soon as it's up. Don't ever overcap on stacks. But after that, if it's 2 targets or 1 target, it's better to, after Rock Claw, use Bloodfang bites. Now, Monstrous Howl makes you have 6 Bloodfang bites with 50% lower GCD. So it's like a boom, 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 boom. It's nice. It feels great. Now we'll get into the side effects and all that. They can spawn bats. I'll get into that in just a moment. But just know on 2 targets or 1 target, it's better to Rock Claw and then Bloodfang bite. Just pick whatever your prio is to kill first and start biting them. On 3 targets or more, it's Rock Claw and then Claw Sweep. Okay, we'll go over all that in just a bit. So, before I go into howls, Eternal Resolve is your last huge cooldown we're going to pick out of your talent trees. So, activate. This is your biggest offensive and defensive cooldown. Activate your Eternal Resolve for 30 seconds, sending you to a Feral Frenzy. Increasing your melee attack speed, maximum health, and healing received by 50%. Gigantic. Huge healing received, huge max HP increase, damage output. It's just amazing. Now, you also heal more off of your crits. Okay, and the damage you do from your crits. So we'll get into that, but just remember, you're going to want to aim for Agi Stamina. This is an Agi Stam class. And then probably some tank, dodge, parry, secondary stats. But if you have the option to, and you know you're not dying often, it's not a stay alive situations that do more damage, you want to go for crit. Crit's very good for your damage, and it helps you heal more, so it's not completely useless defensively. Now, let's talk about these hows real quick, because I mentioned them a few times, and it is a pretty decent part of this spec. It's not the most important thing, but it's one of your main, like, mechanics you are working through a dungeon. Okay, so each time you click any of these hows, including Monstrous Howl, but even Blood Howl, your AoE Taunt, even the one that's movement impairing effects, even if it does nothing, like you waste it, you know, you use the GCD, no one's even needing it. Well, every time you cast any of your howls, you now enrage your summons, increasing their damage down by 10% over 8 seconds. I'll go over to that in just a second, but your summons can be these bats that spawn from either passively when you bite, or when you use Monstrous Howl, it makes all 6 of those bites summon these bats. These bats are only about 4 to 5% of your overall breakdown damage. It's not a big deal, so that 10% increased damage is actually not huge, but each time those bats attack and hit, you are healed for the amount of damage they do. So that 10% is actually not just damage. Like, you'll have 15, 20 bats up sometimes, especially after a Monstrous Howl. It just depends on how lucky you get with the passive procs, the passive creation of them as you're biting. But even after a Monstrous Howl, if you've been lucky, you'll have 10, 15 plus bats up. So each time they're hitting for 1 to 200, and then that's 10%. So now it's 110, 220 each time. And so if you're taking a lot of damage with a lot of bats, that is a lot of healing. It's like a whole new defensive cooldown if you can time all the bats correctly. Now, when they enrage, all of those get that buff, as well as this animated blood spawn. We'll go over this ability itself here in a minute, but just know you do have summons that are working for you. And the best way, the optimal way, doesn't always have to be like this, is to have your summons up and then enrage them, right? I shouldn't have to say that, but we're going over all the basics. I had to learn the hard way too. There's nothing wrong with having to learn. So, you also can summon these from just physical damage you take, okay, amongst other things. A lot of ways, you have a lot of different passive ways to summon these bats. That's why I'm saying you can be lucky and you'll look to your right after, or not even to your right, you'll look around after your Monstrous Howl and you'll be like a huge swarm of bats, and it's super cool. So, you take talents to make these appear often and appear more, and they're great, right? Critical strikes from Ravenous Strike even, or Bloodfang Bites, or Howl. All of these also trigger Call of the Darkwing. So if they enrage them, they make more bats. You'll have a lot. I'm going to show you in just a minute what it looks like. And so we also take a bunch of nice talents along the way. You can stop and read these if you want. We take some slows from my Rock Claw. It's just an M+ type of mindset where it's nice to, if worst comes to worst, you know, I'm out of everything, then at least I can slow them and maybe kite, just to save myself a little bit. Now there's also other ways we can try to get ourselves out of sticky situations, especially when we are big pullers. Okay, we are healer terrorizers here on the Bleezy Show. We're DPS terrorizers too. I mean, look at my other videos I've posted. So just know, Bloody Claws is the capstone talent I aim for. You now generate 20% increased rage from damage dealt, and critical strikes with auto attacks now reduces the cooldown of animated blood, blood veil, and blood pact. Now, auto attacks also have their use in this class. I'll go over that in just a minute. So you can also read these. You get these without having to spend points. These are your class, just like passive talents, or spec passive talents, I should say. You'll get each one every 10 levels. They're really good. I would just say this one's the best. Periodic damage dealt by Rock Claw now hits 50% more often. And Bloodfang Bite, Claw Sweep, and Blood Bolt, which are pretty much your main abilities. Additionally, scale with dodge rating. Now, you don't want to stack dodge. Agility actually does give you some dodge chance. It's kind of a weird stat. But let's just hop into hitting some dummies, right? So here's my Bloodmage Eternal, Werewolf form, obviously. Now, I'm a big Noggin Fogger fan. We'll go over consumes here in just a minute, but right now, I'll just stick in my form. That's fine. So right away, let's hit a nice reset on the overalls. Do a full rotation, maybe not even a full rotation. One thing I want to show you first before I get into a full rotation. So you see this first guy right here? I'm gonna hit my Rock Claw first. These WeakAuras don't worry about that. I'm gonna leave an import link in the description below, along with a talent import link probably, if I can figure that out. But see this first guy right here? Okay, I'm gonna go over some moves real quick. Rock Claw is your main ability. Use this whenever it's up. As soon as you get the ability to where it can stack, use it until you don't have any charges left, right? And as soon as it's back up, put it back up. It'll go up to 3 times. and it does it's the most damage. It's maybe 60 to 70% of your breakdown. Not quite Seed of Corruption, Warlock, TBC, but quite a lot. Okay, now one thing I do want to show you. Let's get there. I'm almost there. Claw Sweep is your main AoE ability, but after Rock Claw. So single target, 2 target, everything. Target, Rock Claw. If it's 3 or more, then you want to Claw Sweep. Okay, Claw Sweep after Rock Claw, right? There's nothing more prio, damage-wise, barring your cooldowns. Use this as soon as you can. Use it often. It does cost, so Rock Claw costs health, and Claw Sweep costs Rage. So you're going to be dumping Rage when you're spending this. It makes it feel like this should do more damage, but Rock Claw's Bleed is what does the most damage. And obviously all those talents, right? So it's huge. Ravenous Strike you don't want to use often. You only use this when you are needing to build Rage. It's just a single target. Hit the mob in front of you. Maybe you're walking, you see these bats spawning. Maybe you're walking with a pack and you're only able to hit one anyway while you're gathering them all. You want to gain some rage so that when you get them all together, you can spend all your rage, right? So if you use Ravenous Claw only if you need to build rage, you're out of every other button, that type of thing. Now that will happen. Okay, Ravenous Claw is going to be a low percentage of your breakdown, but you will need to click it occasionally. And so here's what I've been trying to get to. Ravenous Bite. You see this first target right here? Let's bite him. This debuff right here is called Bite Wound. Bite Wound deals damage to this target. Excuse me. After you bite them, it'll leave a bite wound. So, dealing damage to this target when it has a bite wound with auto attacks now restores health to you equal to 50% of the damage dealt. So you notice there was also a couple of talents that we took or gained passively that make our auto attacks heal us even more. So autoing is something that is not going to do a huge amount of your breakdown by any means in this class, but you are always autoing something. Even in a huge pack, you have that one, this target right here out of this pack of 6 that I'm hitting right now in a dungeon scenario. You're still autoing this guy. And so if you leave this bite wound up on him while everything else is going on, you're still going to be passively healing. And listen, you need every piece of healing you can get on this class. That's the whole challenge of this class. And it's definitely one of the harder specs I've ever played. It's WoW, okay guys, this isn't rocket. Again, this is not crazy. You're not like sitting there doing the math. No, you just want to maximize your healing, and trust me, it's going to save you. At least once. It's saved me many times. So just know that this is also used on 2 target. So if say it was only like this target and this target right here, I would actually just want to Rock Claw and then start biting this one or whichever one's your prio. Right? You'll also get bats every time you're biting, or not every time, but if you get lucky. So now if it's an actual pack of 3 or more, then yes, it's Rock Claw and then Claw Sweep. As much as you can. If for some reason Rock Claw's out, let's see if my class is too good now, but let's see if I can run out of Rock Claw stacks. And so I would Ravenous right there. If I'm out of Rock Claw and I can't do it, Claw Sweep, then I might as well just try to gain a little bit more. I'm gaining so much rage, it's impossible for me to run out. Okay, well, my class is too good. Right now would be a good time. Maybe right now. You see what I mean? Because it's Rock Claw, Claw Sweep, and if you have nothing else, you need to gain rage. Bite costs rage. So you have nothing else. Now, you do have buttons. We're going to get to my offensive cooldowns in just a moment to help. Actually, we're there. Right here, my 5. That's just your taunt. Okay, you do have a taunt, and we picked up an AoE taunt in Bloodhowl. So, Air Fangs is just your single target, 8-second cooldown taunt. Make sure your hit caps, or it's not resisting or missing, etc. Bloodhowl is a 2.5 minute cooldown AoE taunt. Okay, we picked it up in this class tree. Somewhere, right here. Or in a Spec tree. You do need to make sure this counts, okay? And if you are trying to just maximize your proc of the Enrage, that's why I would recommend Shadow Howl or Monstrous Howl. These should, one or the other, should be up, because this is only a 40-second cooldown on Monstrous Howl. So even again, like I was saying, even if like no one's snared at this moment, it's not a giant waste of a GCD as long as you have enough bats up or you're just needing that healing that bad to use this. It'll save you, because this will still enrage all those bats, and it'll enrage this next move, one of the next moves I'm going to get to. Your other summons. Quickly. Blood Tap is just a Tiger's Fury, or like a Symbols for a Rogue, or what else? And then I don't know, what does Warrior do in Rage? Bloodthirst or some shit? I don't remember, it's been a long time. So let's just say I'm out of Rage for some reason. Okay, it gains 50% of my base rage. It does cost health though, and it also costs like 700 health. Almost 800. Okay, that's almost 10% of my health. For 50% of my rage. Now it does help. I do use it quite often. I even have a WeakAura for it. My WeakAuras are very basic, and I'll leave a import link or whatever, but it's very, personalized. Okay, it's not difficult or complex, you don't need them. I recommend them while you're learning and mastering the class. So I just use Monstrous Howl right here. Let's see my bites lighting up. Now I'm hitting them very fast. All these people are spawning. It's a lot. I'm going to go ahead and use Shadow Howl, even though I'm not CC'd. Well, now everything's enraged. And in fact, you might have saw, I use this animated blood. Okay, this is what I've been trying to get through for a while. These are kind of like bats. They work in the same way. Except you spawn these two giant bloods. That's what I call them, animated bloods. Okay. And so they do the same thing as bats, except way better. They hit harder, they crit, they heal you for the amount of damage they do, and it's a short cooldown. It's only 30 seconds, it only costs 20 rage. So, optimally, let's try to do this. Rock Claws, Prio. I'm a Monstrous Howl here. Let's make sure I use both Rock Claws. And then I'm going to act like this is 1 or 2 target. So I would be spamming these bites. Keep Rock Claw up as much as you can. I just spent all those free bites. Now I'm going to animate blood. And let's just use one of my Howls. I use Wicked Howl for 30% more health. But now everything is enraged. Okay, so if I were taking a lot more damage here, maybe I can try to spin my health really quick. I can't. My class is too good. I won't be able to show it off because I'm not taking damage, but you can even see right now it's passively healing me. So it turns into a lot of healing. It's going to save you, and more importantly, it's going to get you through that pack. You know, we pull huge here. We got an ego, we got something to prove, we got healers to put in their place on this channel, okay? There's no time for mana, okay? We got to pull to the next boss and everything in between. I would go to the end boss, but for some reason they reset if you pull bosses too far. So, anyway, we got to stop at some point. So, it will save you. And it's more about juggling cooldowns as a tank that wants to pull a lot and have fun. Okay, so you need to go from like cooldown to cooldown. You don't want to just pull a huge pack, use every single cooldown, and have nothing for the next pack. Okay, you're just going to die. Because then all you're doing is spending your health. Just try to kill faster, right? And you know how that's going to work out as a tank as you're taking a lot of damage. Now, hopefully your healer can step in at that point. But the whole point of this guide is to show you a class that I've had more fun with than not only any other tank, but pretty much any other class I've ever played in a WoW when I started in Cataclysm. Okay, by far the most fun tank. Okay. And it can do plenty of things. Go check out some of my YouTube content on this Bloodmage and on VENOMANCER. You know, I can solo bosses. Okay, I'm not just blowing smoke here. So we went over my main bar right here. I kind of keep my bars personalized, organized. Put these wherever you want to put them. Just know the animated blood is a great cooldown. If you see it right here on my WeakAuras, minus these 2 trinkets, they are very important. Now, your trinkets are important, but I'm using offensive trinkets. Because I'm just that kind of guy. Alright, Blood Pact, we saw this, we picked this, it's the first talent, a great defensive. Eternal Resolve, here's Hemostasis. You can see I'll do Hemostasis right here. It didn't work, or it's immune, but you can actually click it again and it would explode. Don't do that. You're not trying to do that in a pack. You're wanting to AoE and kill fast. If you have to stun something, if your DPS aren't kicking, you really need to stun a boss or stun a mob, then okay. But you better need to do it, because otherwise you are wasting the damage, and you're often the highest damage in your group. So it's a valuable amount of time. Alright, 2 GCDs. Eternal Resolve, I'm going to keep it up because I'm going to do a whole rotation. But this is a solid, if not your best, cooldown. Now, one cooldown, here's Shadow Howl. You do have it's not a purge, you have a soothe, I guess, if you play Druid, a remove and rage effect. It also does lower attack power by 22 seconds. It's not worth a GCD unless you really need it. It's more of a PvP type of thing. Now, removing and rage has a lot of use in like dungeons and stuff, especially like mythics and beyond, I would say. Now, here is your biggest defensive talent. I've said that maybe 4 times, but this really is your biggest one, and you actually learn it passively. I'm not sure at what level, but it's not a talent. It's called Apotheosis. So every single time you do damage with Apotheosis up for the next 30 seconds, which is ridiculous, you gain 100% of that as health. So, now it does cost rage. You're going to mess this up once or twice. Just get it in your head. You're going to mess it up once or twice. It's alright. Then you'll learn. You'll be like, oh crap, that was my biggest cooldown. It does cost rage to keep up. So you can't run out of rage or you will lose that buff. It will no longer be there. It'll go down a cooldown, and it's a 5-minute cooldown. So it's 4 rage to use, and every second it's 5 rage. And that does add up. Okay, you will notice when you're pulling that it's draining your rage pretty quickly. But it's a huge cooldown. It's pretty much 30 seconds where you're not going to die. Most of the time. I don't think I've ever died with Apotheosis up when I used it correctly. Like when I did let it fall off, or you know, I didn't use it too late. That type of thing. It's a get out of jail free card. 5 minutes though, so make it count. Wicked Howl, that was, you know, you gain 30% health. It's huge. Noggin Fogger, not a big deal, but go get it, all right? And you'll see why in a second. I like Noggin Fogger. It doesn't do anything, okay? It's a visual thing. I've watched Soda Pop since I was a young kid, okay? And he used to use Noggin Fogger. Kind of turns you into like the scaly form, or a small werewolf, which is cool. Let's see if I can get one to proc. It's like a 33% chance. It gives you a slow fall. 33% chance it turns you into the scaly. 33% chance it makes you a small, you know. Or you can be a small werewolf. I'll take off the scaly form. You can be a small werewolf, so that's cool. But I'll take that off for now, just while we're going through the guide here. So here's Blood Veil also. It's alright, guys. It's not crazy. It will help. If you have a GCD to use before, it only lasts 6 seconds, so you don't have too long before. If you can manage to fit it in while you're pulling a pack, or like right about before you're about to get to that first mob, because otherwise you really just want to be AoEing, guys, the whole time, even as you're pulling, right? So now quickly, you do have a summon on this class. It's kind of cool, just outside of, you know, combat. Shadow Vigil is like a, not misdirection. It's kind of like you can remove threat or lower threat on a specific target member, party member. So if a healer is for some reason pulled aggro, or someone's about to get hit, you know they pulled the boss, throw it on them. It's like they'll take their rage and give it, or their threat and give it to you. Sorry, it's been a long day, but I'm happy. I'm glad to be here. We had a really good day today. In PvP, it's also very useful because it gives you stealth detection, which if you play PvP, especially with TBC on right now, you know that's a big deal. So now I do use offensive trinkets. We'll go over that kind of thing in just a moment. Buffs, Blood Bond. We picked this up on my, as my capstone talent right here. It's a very good talent. Just put it on someone, put it on anyone. I used to think maybe healer is the best, but really just someone that you know is going to take damage. It doesn't protect. It does redirect 10% of their threat generated to you. So while it doesn't necessarily give them a defensive, it does help you gain threat, and it helps you gain rage and health, etc. So, pretty good talent. It'll be very useful, especially in dungeons. So we went over all these stuff. The offerings, you're gonna have, if I can move these, I tried to move these before. I do have move any, but for some reason it's not moving any. Let's see if I can find one that kind of sweeps by, or maybe I move my cam real quick. You see these offerings. So there's a few different ones. I guess it kind of works like a shaman shield in that you have multiple different kinds. You can only put one up at a time. It's not, maybe not a shaman shield. So like you can give someone stamina, you can give them spirit. There's also some odd ones, such as damage taken from spells up, but they get more healing. So like maybe a physical only raid boss or that type of thing. There's just a give people spirit. Now you're going to have, as you level up, look at here, Sanguinary offering. The only difference between like graders and just the regulars is that the graders you only get at level 60. When you use a grader, it just gives it to your whole party or raid, instead of just having to use it one at a time. Make a mouse over macro, otherwise just click on each person, give it to them, or don't. I don't care. You know, in my dungeons, I'm about getting to the end and getting to the end fast. Now that I have the graders, it's just one button, but oftentimes I just didn't even care. I would just give everyone stamina, right? It's a lot of stamina. And unless they're specifically asking you for spirit or one of these other ones, just give them stamina, okay? Especially give yourself the stamina. You need that one. It's the best one for you. There's a few different ones, but I'm not going to go over the entire spell book, the entire talent trees. There's a lot of things you can't even use in the spec, so it just wouldn't be worth it. Now, Greater Blood Thorns, you know what Thorns is, okay? If you've played WoW, you know what the Thorns is. It just kind of, if someone attacks you, they get taken damage. Now, I think it is shadow damage, so that is important. Yeah, it's just Thorns, okay? Greater Thorns, Greater Blood Thorns instead of a regular one, just puts it on the whole party, same crap. Now, shields. This might be more of what the shaman type of things I was talking about is. You can only have one of these, and you do have multiple ones. So Vital Shield, I'll move my cam again. Vital Shield is one of your other options. Blood Shield by far, I think, is the best. I kind of considered this one for a while. So you receive 15% additional shadow and nature healing. Okay, and you restore 2% of your maximum health every 5 seconds. So you do shadow damage, But I don't think it's worth it, unless it's definitely not, unless you have like a pre-made and you know your healer is also healing you with shadow or nature, right? Otherwise, because we have talents to also make blood shield a lot better. This gives you 75% health regen, okay, in combat. So is 75% increased in combat, which is ridiculously good. It also gives you increased armor contribution by 60%. Okay, it's just way better than your other options, unfortunately. I don't think there's any other ones that's even close, right, that we can use in the spec, so definitely just stick with Blood Shield. We take talents to improve it, to make it even better. It's great. With that being said, guys, you also have like a lunge. That's not it. You have like a lunge. Use this to get into combat when you can, because it does generate some rage. It does a little bit of damage, but I think it's time to go ahead and show you guys the rotation. Okay, you might notice I just now made also a new macro before we start this rotation. I'm going to do a nice full rotation. We're going to Eternal Resolve, and that's your biggest cooldown. That's the one you're going to use as soon as you pull a huge pack and you have them all gathered and you're ready to start doing damage. You need some extra healing. You use this every time it's up, as long as it's, you know, don't waste it. But you're pretty much using this, and then while still pulling big, continuing the dungeon, using everything else to survive until it comes back up again, right? It's your big CD. I went ahead, I've been meaning to do this, so I just went ahead and did it. I made a macro, just very quickly, very simple macro to use my trinket along with it. You could even combine some more things into this if you feel like it, but if you're wanting to copy this, I would just say you're going to need, I can't move it right here. Here's my cam. Show tooltip, cast sequence, then Eternal Resolve. Use your trinket. So you can just shift click your trinket into there instead, but it's very simple. Anyone can do that. So let's go ahead and get into it. Yeah, you're gonna want to lunge in. I'm buffed up. It's time to go. We can go ahead and use some consumes. Why not? We don't play around here on the Bleeds show. All right, let's go. Eternal Resolve to start out. Blood Pact against some rage. Let's go ahead and spawn my peoples. Rock Claw, you just want to make sure is always up. You don't necessarily have to use it every single time as soon as it's up, but pretty much. I mean, it's your prio. The main thing is you just don't want to have 2 charges, be wasting time that it could be recharging, right? So ignore some of my WeakAuras. It's not a huge deal. You might notice Monstrous Howl has been up for a moment. It's really not worth it unless you are needing the healing on 3 target or more. So this is obviously 6 target, therefore it is not 2 target or less. If it's 2 targets or 1 target, you would Rock Claw and then Bite, which then Monstrous Howl would also have more effect. So we're also at what? About 8k DPS, not too bad, not too shabby at all. Should be aiming for about 8k, 9k maybe if I get some lucky procs. And I'll go over my enchants, some things I can affect every single pull here in a minute. So let's just say I need to use my first cooldown. Eternal Resolve's gone, I can summon these people again. Well, let's start with Blood Pact. It's a Knight's Evasion, it's not too long of a cooldown, it's 50% dodge. So don't forget, you're staying alive as the tank. I mean, doing all this DPS is super cool, super fun and whatnot, but you're wanting to stay alive more than anything. You can dump a little bit of rage here because I do have Blood Pact back up. Once a Blood Pact falls off, that's fine. I'm going to have another CD ready. Okay, it's off. Let's say I'm still taking a lot of damage where I'm just ready to go. We got an ego. We got a pull next. I'd say Wicked Howl is the next one. You would probably want to spawn these Bloods first and then Howl, but since I forgot, let's just spend one more GC to enrage him with that. With my movement impairing effect, immunity effect, whatever that is, Howl. So that's not a huge waste of a GCD if you're needing the healing, or just showing it off like I am right now. So not a huge deal. It's falling off now, so we definitely need to figure something out, right? If we're going to be taking a lot of damage, say our healer's way behind, they're like, what the heck is this stupid tank ego pull and everything? Well, that's what we're here for. Apotheosis, let's go. So that we have our hugest cooldown. We don't need the healer. He can go AFK for all we care for the next 30 seconds. Spawn my peoples. It's not a priority, but if you have time left on your Rock Claw before you are about to cap on Rock Claws, go ahead and spawn your people on huge pools. It's just a lot of damage, a lot of healing. Might as well. Okay, big moves, big moves. My trinket is back up. Let's save it for right now with these bites. Pop my trinket. I went ahead and Monstrous Howl just because. We can fit a few things into here, maybe even a couple bites. Spinning rage like crazy. It's fantastic. Go ahead and use a Ravenous here. Gain a little bit of rage as long as Rock Claw is overstacked. Even wasting those bites isn't a huge deal, guys. Like Ravenous Claw, or excuse me, Monstrous Howl does not have a global cooldown, so it's not a big deal. If I needed to, I would have been ready to bite to spawn bats to heal me. You know, not a big deal. I have Fleshcraft. We're out of things with Eternal Resolve still not up, so I can actually Blood Pact again if I really need to. Let's say it was a little bit too late. Well, 50% healing right there. I also have Blood Veil ready. If I need just a quick shield, we're just trying to survive a little bit longer because my biggest cooldown's almost up. Let's think of us 30 more seconds of just absolute monstrous damage. And it's up. So we have done about 8k over 3 minutes. Not terrible at all. That's actually really good for 6 target. Don't get me wrong. You're going to be destroying most DPS classes in any tank spec I've seen. You are literally going to be out DPSing most DPS specs in this game. So especially in dungeons, especially if you pull big. Especially right now when there's just tons of people who are still learning their class. And you manage to take the time to come and learn yours. Now I'm going to quit here. We just had even Wicked Howl come back up again. So you see what I'm doing? I'm really just bouncing CDs, guys. You get a lot of health, a lot of regen. And that's really it, guys. Now as far as enchants, I do use their new... I'll tell you why I'm dual wielding. They have new enchants that are like proc based, kind of like, I don't know, did Crusader do it like this? It's been a while. So this one will give you agi. I think it's like 100 or 150 if it procs, which is really good. So optimally, as a tank, what I have found is 2 one-handers. You can use a bunch of different ones as Bloodmage. I can't go over all of them, but I have a dagger and a sword together right now. Aim for agi stam as prio. Put on Strider, because it's an agi. You can put it on both. It's an agi proc, and it's a lot of agi. If you have the gear, and you have so much you're able to choose, aim for tank stats or crit as your secondary stat. Haste is great, attack power is great, and what I like about my setup right now is both of my weapons also have chance to do their own proc that comes in the weapon itself. No enchant. Like this one gives corrosive acid that helps me bypass their armor, does some damage. Corrupts target. 210 damage is a lot for a proc over 3 seconds. And so even if these don't proc often themselves, it's just a lot of extra added damage, you know. Now eventually you get some set bonuses, a lot of good gear. I'm still gearing. We just got through my first raid today, tanked it, led it on stream. It was fantastic. Go check it out. I'm also using 1 defensive trinket, 1 offensive trinket. These are just the best ones I've gotten so far. I'm usually a offensive trinket type of guy, but you know, if for some reason all of these cooldowns is still not enough for you and your pulls, but by God, you are my type of person. Go ahead and get yourself another offensive trinket, or maybe another defensive trinket. It just depends on what you're lacking. Are you lacking damage in the group? Is that why it's going bad? Or are you pulling it a little bit too much? I mean, maybe a little bit more defense in there, because we're doing a lot of damage already. I'll tell you that. But just so you guys know, this has been a fantastic guide. I'm actually very happy with it. We can go over WeakAuras very quickly, but you can skip this if you don't want to. Sub to the YouTube. Thank you for watching. I do have a VENO pack and a Bloodmage pack. My VENO's only level 40, 45 maybe right now, so it's not completed. But the Bloodmage one is done, ready. It's not that complicated, guys. The only things you're going to have to go do by yourself is go shift-click, go into your trinks, Trink 1 and Trink 2, and then just shift-click your trinket. Okay, you can go... I'll just do this one since I already had it ready. It's going to look like this, or it's going to actually be the one that I had made for you. You're going to have to go delete that, click it, shift-click your trinket that you use, and then click OK. And now it's perfect for you. Do that for both your trinkets if they're on use, or just hide one if you only have one. I can actually do that myself. I'll probably do that for this video. All that being said, guys, consumables, went over it. I can't think of anything else. I'm sure I forgot something. But that is a good spot to stop, guys. I'm very, very happy with that. It's better and more improved than my last guide. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you become the next blood mage that is terrorizing. And I mean terrorizing. Healers in their dungeon groups and DPS alike, by the way. They got nowhere to hide from the meters. Okay, they got nowhere to hide either. So thank you very much for tuning in. Come say hi on the stream. We are live every single day here on YouTube and on Twitch. Come say hi. Come sub to the Twitch. Follow the Twitch. Sub to the YouTube. Subs on YouTube would mean a lot. So that's the one thing I'm kind of behind on, but we're putting out content. I know I got to earn it. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys in the next one. Feel free to ask any questions. Check the description below. If you think I did something wrong, I don't even care if you're a smart person about it. You know what I'm trying to say. Feel free to tell me. I'd be surprised, but let me know. Listen, I know I'm not perfect, but if you can master this class, I mean, it is more fun than I've had playing WoW in 10, 15 years. I kid you not. So have a great day. Hope you enjoy. See ya.